I'll take JDM baits for 300, Alex.
Welcome, everyone, to another awesome episode of the Average Ontario Anglers Fishing Podcast. This is actually episode 105, and as we always said, Andrew, who the heck would have thought we would have got past 10?
Not me.
But here we are at 105. Today we have, and I know I always say this, but I've been very excited for this episode because we have a very, very interesting guest. We have Travis, the owner of Tackle Bros. How's it going, man?
What's up, brother? Thank you for having me.
We're excited because, you may see many baits behind my head, but Travis has many more baits behind his head.
I got a few, man, for sure. Those are all personals too. That's all personal collection.
Ooh, I'm jealous. So Tackle Bros, if you didn't know, is a super bougie and amazing tackle store that's in Peterborough. And every time me and Andrew are in Peterborough, we have to stop in. It's almost the law. You should get arrested if you don't stop in at Tackle Bros because it is insane. But before we start this episode, we have something very, very important to tell you guys. Andrew's going to read the disclaimer for this episode.
Our first AOA disclaimer. The following podcast may contain discussions of high-end fishing tackle, premium Japanese lures, limited edition rods, and gear so beautiful you'll question your life choices. Listener discretion is advised, especially if you have a history of impulse purchases, weak willpower, or a credit card with too much breathing room. We are not responsible for any sudden urges to upgrade your setup, mysterious package deliveries, or strained conversations with your significant other about why you need a $42 crankbait. If you or someone you love suffers from tackle acquisition syndrome, please consult your local fishing buddy, preferably one who also has poor spending habits and will validate your decisions. Average Ontario Anglers is not liable for marital disputes, overdrawn accounts, or feelings of existential dread when you realize you just spent your grocery money on tackle.
I mean, fair play. Fair play for sure.
You know how many people get mad at us? They're like, hey, my husband listens to your podcast and he just bought like a whole bunch of crap. And I'm like, I'm sorry. We never said that we were good. We said we were average. So keep that in mind. Thanks, Andrew, for reading that. So before we get into this episode, I thought we could just talk a little bit about Tackle Bros before we have the interesting fishing fact. So Travis, tell us a little bit about the history of Tackle Bros and exactly what people can expect if they've never been there for the first time.
Okay, so we started 2020, height of COVID. We had a little shop on Water Street. It's just a little, maybe 700 square foot. And I just wanted a place to hang out. That's really how it started. I was doing more, not real estate stuff, but more like development stuff in real estate. So more of a place to hang out because I love fishing. So I was like, it'd be cool to have a little shop. And then I started to bring in the stuff that I like. So I traveled to Asia since I was like in my early 20s. I've been going over to Asia and I've always had like a fascination with the style of fishing that they do over there. So I was like, I'll bring in the stuff that's going to pay the bills. And then I'll also bring in the stuff that I really like to fish with. So we started doing that. And then the pay the bill stuff turned into the Japanese stuff, which made me be able to buy more and more. And then we started to outgrow our space, expanded that one time. And then a year later, we were into the current space we're in now, which we actually just expanded again. Like none of this was here maybe at the start of the year. We didn't have this space. So we expanded again, went full in on, the opposite of everybody else. I don't want you to come in here and find the same stuff you're going to find at Canadian Tires, the like sales, like the staple stuff. I want to create staple stuff. So that's why we kind of went the JDM direction. And it's not just JDM. There's a bunch of, amazing North American products that like Great Lakes Finesse is a good example. We were the first store to ever carry Great Lakes Finesse. And I seen the product and it looked unique. So if it's unique product, I'd say we're more geared towards that. Japan just happens to be the home of unique products. So that's kind of the direction that we've gone. And then last year we started doing the drop. That's on our YouTube page. We do every Thursday. We start because we have so much new stuff. We figured, how do we show it to people? How do we make people understand, why you should buy, like you said, a $42 crankbait? And that kind of blew us up a little bit more. And now we're here.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
And I'd have to say, not to compare you to the hookup tackle in the States, but
Very
that
similar.
that was the content that I used to watch a lot of back in the day. And then I was like, man, we need a place like that up here. And Tackle Bros has literally filled that niche 100% perfectly. It's amazing. And with the drop videos, it's terrible, man.
Yeah,
like
man.
Thursday, you're like, cool. And then you watch the video and you're like, well, I guess I'm eating ramen this week.
Yeah, literally. Hey, ramen ain't bad though. Ramen ain't bad.
It's not bad when you're catching bass, right?
True.
But I tell you, of all the times, me and Andrew have kind of been, dipping our toes into JDM stuff the last few years. And a lot of the times that me and Andrew have been like, oh, when we see a bait in the water, it's usually JDM. So
Yeah.
keep that in mind. So before we jump into this is just a teaser what we're going to do this episode. I thought it'd be really cool because we have Travis, who is probably one of the most knowledgeable guys in this area, at least, maybe even Canada, about fishing tackle. We are going to go through a bunch of different segments of lures. We're going to go through plastics, crankbaits, topwaters. We're just going to go through a bunch of them. And he's going to give us his personal recommendations of stuff that is at Tackle Bros, maybe JDM, maybe whatever high-end, cool, awesome technique. And these may be lures that you may want to pick up. We're going to link everything down below so you can easily look at them. Even if, you can only buy one or two of them, definitely check them out. So before we do that, we actually have our first segment, which is going to be, as tradition states, we have the interesting fishing fact. And to handle that, as always, well, today anyway, is Andrew, the man with the beard. Dazzle us.
I don't know if you can see this little bug I've got flying around my head. For those visual listeners.
Ew.
But in the summertime, I love seeing these guys. These are dragonflies. Probably one of the most recognizable insects we have, maybe besides the ladybug. This is one of those little hat clips, which we talked about in a previous episode, but they work well. I think actually we talked about it with Dave Mercer, I think, in the last episode. So dragonflies, I don't know about you guys, but when I start seeing them, I'm like, summer is finally here, right? Like we have the hot weather.
Yep.
You're paddling around, you're hearing this like buzzing thing. Like, is that a horsefly? Like, oh no, that's my protector, the dragonfly. So I wanted to go into some of the three stages of life cycles that they have, because they're actually a really fascinating creature when you actually sit down and get to know them. So they have three stages. The first one is their egg stage. They start in freshwater ponds, lakes, slow-moving streams. Some of the eggs can actually survive drying out, and then when they're rehydrated, then they hatch. Like how many things, like other aquatic things, can you think of that would be able to do that? Like even not, I know there's catfish and stuff that can dry out in the desert, but like this is like the egg stage, can just like essentially die and then reanimate. The hatch time varies. It can take weeks. Sometimes it'll be over winter. They'll stay in their eggs and then hatch. And some, they can even detect poor water quality and won't hatch. They'll put off hatching until the water quality improves. So they're kind of like a cool like canary species, right? Canary in a coal mine.
Those are some smart eggs.
The second, I'm just going to move on from that. The second life stage is the nymph or larva stage. These guys are already cool. If you think you were a cool kid, you are not as cool as these guys. They can be underwater from months to even years before they emerge as final adult dragonflies, but they're already expert hunters at this larval stage. They have an extendable lower jaw or labium. It's like a spring-loaded harpoon. You ever seen the secondary set of jaws in like Alien? Even if you haven't seen the movies, like I'm sure you can recognize a photo of like the second jaws coming out from inside. It's kind of like that. Like this thing like comes off the bottom of their face, shoots forward and grabs things as a nymph. They actually lock the jaw in place and they'll build it under tension, and then it fires within like a millisecond and grabs the prey. It's super quick. It's like a cocked pistol when it goes off. And these guys, they'll feed on mosquito larvae, tadpoles, small fish, and even dragonfly nymphs.
Cannibals.
These things are already tackling vertebrates at the larval stage. Like, that's insane. How they get around, they have jet propulsion. They squirt water from their abdomen, and that's how they can escape predators. They also breathe through their bum. Their gills are located inside their rear, and that doubles as that jet propulsion system. So essentially their burps are their farts, which is kind of cool, I guess. The larvae, they will molt up to 15 times before becoming an adult. So that's why as they get bigger, they'll start hunting larger and larger prey in that larval stage. Now again, another cool feature about these guys, they can pause their development if conditions are poor. So if they don't want to reach that next stage and actually emerge as full adult dragonflies go into the next stage, they'll just stunt their growth purposefully. Again, like it's really cool that they're able to wait for the right moment to continue growing.
Honestly, I do that all the time. I've stunted my growth because I just stopped going to the gym.
I have not stopped eating, so I'm about to molt soon, I think.
Not again.
Now, the third one, the one that we always recognize, this is when they emerge into an adult. And it's kind of like creepy how they do it. You'll see this like nymph crawl out of the water onto a plant or rock. Its back will split open down the middle, and then it pulls itself out, and all the wings are like crumpled and soft, like they're just bundled up on its backside. And then over several hours, the wings will harden, and the dragonfly prepares for its first flight. If it is attacked or disturbed during that emergence, it might die half transformed. It won't continue to transform. It's not like a natural or a just warming up thing makes the wings come out. So sometimes you'll see them kind of like look like weird frozen in time half-emerged adults. But now they're the perfect flying machine. The dragonflies are like the Apache helicopters of the animal kingdom. Like, these things are insane. They have a 95% hunting success rate, which is crazy.
It's almost as good as me fishing.
I think he has a 95% chance of getting skunked.
That's true. That's true.
They have 360-degree vision, almost completely spherical vision around their bodies. When you think of like a person playing sports, let's say like you're watching hockey and you see like the players, they're going to where the puck is going to be. They're skating towards it. You pass it in front of the player. They're predicting where it's going to be. That's what dragonflies do with live animals. They're not just, you're thinking of predicting a projectile. They're predicting the movements of their prey. And it's not just like a guess. That's why their hunting rate is 95% successful. Because if you watch videos online of these things, they change a direction with their wings. They can change however they want. You'll see them chase down like a deer fly or a mosquito. And then mid-flight, there's like changing direction and they intercept them. They don't just follow behind them like a dogfight. They intercept their prey. They know where they're going to be. Each pair of their wings moves independently, which again allows it to hover, glide, or pivot instantly. And that's not just side to side, like up, down, backwards. They can just rotate their body whoever the way they want next. And that's how they can, get wherever they want to be. They even fly backwards. They also don't need to build speed. They accelerate to top speed instantaneously. So this thing not only turns in a dime, it's still going full tilt.
That's a lot of torque.
A couple other cool things is they can fly sometimes thousands of kilometers crossing oceans sometimes. Some species can change color depending on the temperature. And we think of like they've been around for a long time. They've been around for over 300 million years. Talk about living with dinosaurs. Now, we don't have the exact same species today that perhaps lived back then. The largest species that exists today, I'm not going to try and say it. It's the Latin name, but it's the giant petaltail. Has a wingspan of 6.3 inches. That's a fair-sized dragonfly.
A big dragonfly.
The largest one in the historical record, they found some that had a wingspan of about 28 inches. Absolutely insane. I'm kind of glad those ones don't exist anymore, because I feel like they'd be snatching our lures out of the midair every time you cast it or something crazy.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like the start to end of a dragonfly. And I've always been fascinated with them. They are like a super cool species. Yeah, when I got to learn even more about the superpowers these things have, they're actually insane.
Thanks, Andrew, for another terrifying nerd. You notice whenever we do interesting fishing facts, Andrew does something either gross
or weird.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. And you know what? People like it. So we'll keep doing it. Thanks, Andrew. So before we get into the main topic, I thought we would do something a little more fun. We're supposed to, interact more with the listeners. You hear that, listener? We're interacting with you right now. We're going to play a game. Travis does not have to play this game because I know he would win every question.
I'll just jump in if he gets crazy.
All right. So this game, it doesn't have a name. Actually, it's called the JDM Lure Name Game. I just made that up.
How original.
So I have come up with a list of 14 lures. Now, I went through the Tackle Bros website. By the way, I'm going to link down below in the bio so you can, look at lures you might buy. You might want to buy one of these, or you might get scammed if you try to buy one of these, because there's 14 real names and there's 14 names that ChatGPT made up that sound like Japanese lure names. So I'm going to ask Andrew which ones he thinks is real and which one is fake. So just tell me which one is real, and I'm going to go through. And some of these are pretty good. So if you were going to buy one of these lures, Andrew, one is called, now let's be fair first. A lot of Japanese lure names are really weird. Like whenever we go into Tackle Bros, Andrew's like, oh, cool, look at this. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, I can't pronounce it. So, some of these names are weird. So anyway, which one of these is real, Andrew? So one is called the Heart BG Fix or the Venom Skirt.
I think Heart GB Fix or something.
Yeah, you're right. It's a duo Realis bait. Good job.
Came out 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. It said new beside it. I was like, perfect. Tap, 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 tap.
You know what gave it away? Venom skirt sounded like something, I don't know, Elon Musk would release his next car thinking it sounds cool.
All right. This one is easy. So which one would you buy? The Cranky Walrus or the Cover Scat?
Well, I know what I want to buy, but what I think is the correct one is the Cover Scat.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's one of those poop baits, which, by the way, are amazing. If you haven't tried a poop bait, we'll talk about that later, but poop baits
They only
are
look
legit.
like poop. They work really well.
All right, Andrew, which one is real? The Turbine Cicada or the Yamatanuki? You got to be fast, man. Yeah, that's real. That's the little Yamamoto stubby stickworm, which is also kind of like a poop bait.
Do you know what a tanuki is?
It looks like a raccoon, yeah.
Raccoon.
But the lore of them...
Yeah, it's a raccoon, yeah. I seen a Japanese raccoon in the wild one time. It looks more like a dying dead dog. Like it was...
Ew.
It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
I want to put a Texas rig hook on it and catch a fish.
Yeah.
All right, here's a good one. What would you rather fish? The boomerang minnow or the emu kamushi?
Boomerang minnow.
Nope, that's fake. The emu kamushi. You know what that is? That's the G-crack little bug with the little skirts coming out of it. You should know that you actually have those, Andrew.
Yeah, but I don't know how to read the name.
All right. Which one is real? Which one is fake? So one is called the silent mantis. The other one is called the sprinkler frog.
Sprinkler
You gotta
frog.
be fast. That's the real one. Yeah, that's Teckle's legendary buzzing topwater frog. That was an easy one. I knew you'd get that
Sprinker,
one.
though. It's Sprinker.
Sprinker? Okay.
Sprinker.
Andrew still got it right. Autocorrect, man. Okay, here's one. The little sweeper or the shadow beaver?
Little sweeper.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're right.
goodness.
Shadow beaver.
All right, how about this? Again, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce these correctly, but the moonfire grub or the baobab hog?
Baobab hog.
Yeah, you're right. Man, Andrew's too good at this show.
I'll take JDM baits for 300, Alex.
Yeah. I wonder how many of our listeners are getting way more than Andrew correct. Like 100%. All right. The toxic gizzard or the battle hog?
Battle hog.
You are correct, sir.
Anything with hog is probably a real name.
All right. How about this? The shrimp tornado or the bull flat?
I was going to say bull flat?
Yeah. ChatGPT is terrible.
I want to see
I should have said make them.
What does shrimp tornado look like? You know what I picture is, you know when like they do like a bunch of like micro finesse baits and they have like the injection mold? It's that, but they didn't pull it off of the injection mold center. Like,
Which one is real? You have the Wobble Raptor 95F or the Great Hunting Humpback?
the Wobble Raptor.
Nope.
Really?
The Great Hunting Humpback is a megabass crankbait, Andrew.
You got me with
Man,
like
you
the
suck at
centimeter
this.
and stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
that
I
was
know.
good.
I knew
That
I
was
would.
good.
How about this one? The Sting Goby Type Z or the Hyper Spider?
Ooh, Sting.
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Sting Goby?
Nope. The Hyper Spider is a Kitech. It's like a little weird spider
Sounds
bait.
like I'm buying some.
It has it's like a jig skirt built in.
Yeah.
Sounds like I'm definitely buying.
It's kind of
one
like
those.
coolest thing that you ever want to buy. Okay, we only have a few left. Okay, you got to
Okay.
be fast, Andrew. One is called the Megadog
Yes,
X,
that one.
or okay, you win. You didn't want to hear what
What
the
is
other
it?
one was? The Glass Viper.
Glass Viper. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Okay.
a car.
Here's the last one. Okay, the Kamikaze Dart Beetle or the Fang Pop.
Kamikaze beetle.
Nope,
Oh.
Fang Pop. It's a dual realis popper. Oh, so if you're listening to this, I hope you got 100% of those correct.
If you were looking at the website or looking at the links down below, you were cheating. Just want to say that.
It's true.
It's true. I'm not linking any of those down below. So anyway, we're going to get into our actual show now. We're going to go through a bunch of segments. I know last week when we were talking to Dave Mercer, we actually talked a lot about flipping and a little bit about frogging. We didn't really delve into frogging as much about the actual baits. We more talked about where to fish them. So our first segment we're going to talk about is topwater frogs. Now, when it comes to bass fishing, that's kind of like what Dave said. That's postcard bass fishing, right? Is fishing a weedless frog. And it's probably my favorite way to catch a bass.
It's one of the purest ways to fish, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when it comes to weedless frogs, what are some of your top weedless or topwater frogs that you would recommend for this season's bass season?
Okay, so when I do topwater, there's one brand and one brand only. Now, sometimes I'll, go outside a little bit, but the bulk of my fishing is in Teckle. So Teckle only produces topwater baits. the owner, Hideki, is actually a really good friend of mine. And I've actually got to spend a lot of time fishing with him and like learning how each bait is supposed to properly work. So I have a little bit of an advantage with the tackle just because of that. But if I could only pick one, I would pick the honker frog. So I'll open it up so you guys can see it. All the frogs from him are unique and they all serve like a very specific purpose, including that sprinkler frog that you were talking about earlier. I have a cool story about that if you guys want to hear it.
No, we're not big on
Absolutely.
stories in this podcast.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the story while I'm opening this because I'm terrible at opening packages. So essentially, I asked him why he made the sprinkler frog. He's a very big fan of the river to sea whopper plopper, but he found that, when there's grass around, it would just get caught up in the trebles, right? Which makes sense. So he essentially created a whopper plopper that was completely weedless so that when the grass was up, he could still throw his favorite style of bait. So that's why the sprinkler exists. But this is the honker frog. So the first thing you're going to notice is it has 2 metal legs in the back. How most people will fish this is they'll just wake it back. But the actual way that I've seen Hideki fish it and I fish it is you kind of bring this into like little pockets and then you shake it a bit. And that makes these legs click together, obviously to attract fish. But it kind of is like a bluegill clicking sound. Have you ever heard bluegill click?
Yeah.
So that's what this is designed to do. It gives that little bluegill click. There's also a flash in the water, so it's an attractant. But if you do that, you work this into a little hole and you shake it there for a minute, you'll get bit. Like it's my confident frog by a long shot.
I foresee myself getting poor at the end of this episode.
Start writing your list up, Andrew.
I have a sprinkler frog and I bought it last fall, so I haven't used it yet. But I'm excited for that. Well, it was on sale. It was end of season, so I got it on sale.
That is cool. I have heard the bluegill clicking. Mm-hmm. Usually when you're going around lily pads or whatever, and it's going to be a good bed when you hear that little kissing noise. The little bluegills underneath the surface eating the bugs, and they're not kissing because fish don't kiss each other generally, but
just fishermen kiss fish.
So that's cool.
Honker is definitely like if I could only have one frog, honker frog for sure.
All right, I am actually going to buy that. I'm regretting doing this podcast already. This is gonna get expensive.
It'll be pricey by the end of it.
That's okay.
From there, staying in Teckle, do you guys fish a lot of cheese?
Yes, sir. Cheese mats, slop, and poop.
Okay, so this is a cool one. This is called the Morocco. It's the same frog profile. A lot of the frog profiles are the exact same, like the actual body of the frog, but all the action and changes are back here. So this one, if you're fishing over the cheese, you can't get anything into it, right? You don't really want to. This has a little Morocco on the back. So essentially, this is what is going to be used to call up the fish. I've seen this work in open water, but it is really, really special when it gets, that super matted up, cheesy top. They explode on this thing. So if I was doing that style of fishing, I like to go with this guy.
That's cool.
That is cool because sometimes, when they're underneath all that slop, you got to get them a little jiggly. And, there's all those modifications. They're like, oh, you cut the frog open, you put some bells and stuff. It's like, ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, you just got it on the back now with this one.
That's cool.
Yep. So that'd be another one. Another one, like I was just saying, sprinkler frog, like open water fishing a sprinkler frog or in, I like to fish it in more sparse grass, like where it's not so choked up. Sprinkler is really, really tough to beat, man. Like it's probably the number one Teckle frog. And then like if I'm going classic frog, I'm just going whacker. Whacker's just the standard silicon skirting frog, what you're used to. These work super easily. It doesn't take like a lot of input. Like they're pretty user friendly. Some frogs can be difficult to sort of get that walk side to side. It has a beautiful action and it's just really light rod taps and they get absolutely smoked.
That's awesome. I absolutely love the things where you're calling the bass to yourself, like using other things to make that noise, because we all know that it can do a lot for us on the water, a lot against us, like dropping a tackle box in the bottom of a boat. But having something that is a different noise completely like that, especially when there's low visibility for the fish to actually see your bait. That's just another thing to zero in on. That's noise and also other vibration with your lateral line. So that's cool to be another edge in those tough scenarios.
Yeah, man. Like when they're under the cheese, they're not seeing anything, right? Like they're under there getting shade, just kind of hanging out. But that little rattle, it calls them for sure.
We always talk about fishing in pressured water. So a lot of people will talk to us on our social media or whenever we post some cool little bait, and they'll be like, you don't need that. The fish they'll hit anything. It's like, yeah, maybe in the northern lake you fish where 4 people fish the lake. Like, like me and Andrew fish in back lakes, and I swear you can chuck anything and those fish will hit. But if you're fishing a pressured lake that is slammed all weekend, little differences in baits can make a huge difference. And people
100%.
will not understand that until they actually try it. It does make a huge difference.
It's substantial. Like it's like you said, just there's on any given weekend in the Kawarthas, 3 lakes have a big tournament on it. And then you have cottagers and everybody coming here. You try to go out on like a Sunday and fish. It's like, it's dead if you're just throwing regular stuff.
And the other thing I'll add about JDM stuff is me and Andrew are big about changing our hooks out on other baits we get. JDM stuff already comes with super legit hooks. Those are the hooks you buy to replace crappy hooks. So you're buying a bait. Sure, it's a little more expensive, but you're getting a bait that works generally better, is going to work better in pressured water, and has premium components that will last a lot longer and help you catch more fish. Like how many times have you had a fish just slap at your bait or, grab your bait and you set the hook and your lure just falls out of its mouth and you're like, oh, these hooks suck. But when you get a bait with awesome hooks on it, how many times do I break to Andrew? I'm like, oh yeah, BKK, the best.
Something else I've found too, and like you guys can let me know if you've experienced the same stuff, but I have had some of the more generic brands that we're used to seeing. And I'm not talking like, the dollar store special. I'm talking like legitimate brands you'd buy in a tackle store. And the odd time you'll get a bait and it just doesn't work right. The lip was put on crooked, or, it's missing an eye, like, which is not a big deal, but sometimes they just don't run like they should. And I have yet to experience that on a JDM style bait. And I just feel like I know Jesse's talked before about even like Duo, like they're super meticulous before they send a bait in packaging. Like it has to be perfect for them.
Yeah, man.
So they make sure that like when you buy something, yes, you're going to be spending a bit more on the bait, but like you said, you're not having to upgrade it. And you can be confident that it's going to work properly as it's intended. And
Duo is a great example of that. Like I'm very, very close with the guys from Duo. I've probably been to their facility like 15 times now, luckily. And every single bait is water tested. Every single bait passes like 2 final inspections. You should see the reject pile and they'll be like, find the problem. And I'm like, I don't see a problem. And then the lady comes over. She's like, oh, right here, there's this little mark and that's rejected. And it's nuts. They don't go out unless they're perfect. So that's Japan.
I know we did an interesting fishing fact last year about Duo, about how they make their lures and all the stages it goes through. There's actually a video. It goes through the whole process on YouTube of the Duo. So I'll link that below because that's actually a very interesting watch. It just shows you like Japanese engineering in general, like what are the most reliable cars on the road? Toyotas and Hondas. Everyone's going to no, but they literally are. There's a reason why the resale value is so good. That's why, I buy Japanese, but your car just lasts and it works because it was designed properly. No offense, people that drive Dodges, but
I drive a Dodge.
You suck. But anyway, irregardless, I'm not saying that Americans don't make good cars, but you can tell that the engineering is just above and beyond. And it's the same with their lures. The Japanese culture, it's super strict. Like you said, there's like one little flaw in a lure and it's like, a piece of dust landed in the finish, rejected. I just be like, give me those. I'll take those. No problem, man.
That's what they do. They end up giving to the pro staff and stuff. But like Japanese people as a whole are like very honorable. Like everything is like, they don't want to like deceive you or rip you off or anything. They just want to give you exactly what they've advertised. So
yeah. Well, we're talking about frogs. We're not going to go into like super bougie combos because if you want to look at that, definitely check out the Tackle Bros website because Travis has a bunch of videos where he shows off some of his combos that'll make you drool and they look pretty sick. But we're going to generalize here. You don't really have to name any brands, but if you want to, that's fine. When it comes to fishing those frogs you're talking about, I know it depends where you're fishing them, but if someone was to buy a frog combo, maybe they're just branching out from having one or two and they're like, you know what, I fish frogs a lot. I want to buy one combo for frog fishing in Ontario. What is a kind of a general combo and line and reel, gear ratio and all that stuff that you'd recommend?
So gear ratio is 8-1. Always with frogs, you should go high gear ratio because chances are you're fishing around some crazy stuff. You need to get them up and out as quick as possible. Line, I generally use 65-pound braid. Some guys will use 50, some guys will use 80. 65 is like a pretty good medium for me. Rods, I'm very weird. So I think like a common frog rod is like a 7.4 to 7.9 heavy to extra heavy. I like short frog rods because I don't really, those long bomb casts into the back of stuff. That's not really like my style of fishing. How I generally fish is, short pitches into specific targets. So I'll throw like a 7-foot heavy rod a lot. That's not necessarily designed. I like a little bit of a softer tip, whereas most guys want like a pool cue. The problem is when you catch smaller fish on those big rods and you set the hook and they jolt out of the water and they're coming at you, once they hit the water, you get a bunch of slack and maybe you just penetrated all the way through. You lose a lot that way. So for me, I like to use a little bit softer of a rod, and then I like shorter just because I can make those more accurate casts.
That's awesome. I used to own, and I regret selling it, but I used to own the St. Croix 7-foot heavy dock sniper.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly that rod. Short, heavy power, fast action St. Croix, which is kind of like more like a bit softer in the tip. And yeah, you could skip frogs around, docks, trees, all that stuff like that. But as well, still got a fairly good distance on your cast as well.
Yep.
And yeah, that's great. So if you guys are looking to get a new frog combo, and again, you can always message Tackle Bros and be like, yo, I need a frog combo, set me up. And then be like, budget is $3,000.
Yeah.
Just kidding. No, you guys got a big select. We're making it sound like you walk in the store and everything's ridiculously expensive. It's not.
Have you guys ever tried a Tool XT?
I have many. Yes.
Dude, that rod for that price is incredible. Like that's probably like when someone comes in, I start at Tool XT because I think the value you get a legit rod, like something that I feel comfortable selling people. It's $120. Daiwa will warranty it right down the street now. It feels high end when you leave. You're not picking up like one of those rods. You're like, man, this thing weighs a ton. It's super light, it's sensitive, and it's $120. Like that to me is like one of the best value you can get out of any rod manufacturer.
We've said that before. Like we have a bunch of them. If all my stuff burned in a fire, like everything, and I had like only a few $100, I would buy all Tatula XTs. I'd buy like 6 or 7 of them and be like, all right, we're good. Yep. They're actually super nice. And yeah, $120.
And they have a full range. They have everything. You can live in Tatula XT and not miss anything.
And if you're super bougie, you can just jump up to the Tatula line, which is only $2 bucks more. It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
By the time you're at Steve's, you're done. But anyway, that's great. And how about a budget-ish reel?
Yeah, Tatula CT. That's my budget reel. If somebody's getting into bait casting specifically, I always try to start them at Tatula CT because you get the T-wing in it. And if you guys have used a T-wing, like it is super helpful with backlashes. A lot of people think that, bait casting is so easy to just cast it out, but having the right settings is imperative. And if you don't, that T-wing can help. If you're missing it by a couple, the T-wing definitely offsets it a bit and makes it a little bit more enjoyable.
Absolutely. We're huge fans of Daiwa Tatulas. We have got SVs.
Yep.
We just got the new SVTW, the new 100 and 150. Andrew got the 150. I got the 100. Yeah. Dude, those things cast a mile.
Yeah, they have the long cast spool. So it's like it's cool.
Yeah. We're just like nerding out on reels.
All right. That is a good point though, of choose a start point and you mentioned it before, for a bait caster, choose one that will give you less grief when trying to cast it. Yep. If you go straight bottom of the barrel, like super budget, you're going to hate it. That's just how it's going to be. You're going to hate it. You're going to regret spending $50. Whereas if you spent $150, $200, whatever, you're going to be actually enjoying.
I've worked at some tackle shops and I tried to dissuade people from buying like the super cheap reels, the ones that were like $69. I'm like, maybe for a spinning reel, definitely not for a bait caster. Spend the money. At the time, I'd always be like, more than 10 years ago, I'd be like, buy the SLX. Start at the SLX. And at the time, it was like $129 or something like that at the time. Or no, it was like $120. It was cheap. And people would just be like, oh, it's a lot of money. I was like, believe me, it'll be worth the headaches and backlashes. I was like, I'm not trying to upsell you. I just don't want to be a wiener and have you hate bait casting because it's awesome. So anyway, buy yourself a nice reel. So we're going to go from topwater right before I ask Travis one question. So after every segment, I'm going to ask Travis one difficult question about the segment. And he has to tell us this in 30 seconds or less.
Can I interject quick?
Yes.
Just back on the bait casting spinning. If you're buying bait casting, spend the money on the reel. If you're buying spinning, spend the money on the rod. That's the rule.
That's a great tip.
So that's where you should spend your money on each one. So that's spinning. The rod is being sensitive is more important. Bait casting, having a good reel is more important because the rod, it's not such a sensitive thing. You're usually throwing moving baits. So
Validation.
Good thing I bought that NRX frog rod. I can put this on my XT drop shot rod.
Yeah.
Only true tackle nerds will find that funny. Everyone else is like, what? I don't get it. Anyway, don't worry about it. I make fishing jokes to my wife sometimes, and she's like, ha ha ha. I'm like, you don't understand a word I just said. I was like, but he was rigging it with an EWG. And then I just like laugh, and she's like, anyway. All right. So this is the hot take question of the topwater talk. Loud versus silent topwaters. What triggers more bites?
I definitely think noise makes a difference, especially in topwater, because you can draw fish in. If you're doing more targeted stuff, it's maybe not as important, but especially when you have that cheese or you're like matted up or you're trying to fish the edge of something, having something to draw them out is key.
Awesome. All right. Let's go into one of my favorite things, which would be plastic baits. We all like chucking, creature baits, worms, random poop baits, like we said. I bought for the first time, I think last year I bought poop baits, although it's been popular many years. And I was just like, how good could it be? After one day, I was sold. Legit awesome. But we'll talk a bit more about poop in a sec. So when it comes to plastics that produce in Ontario for bass, what are some of your hot ones?
I got a box.
Ooh. Also, Travis doesn't know this yet, but anything he opens, he has to donate to Jesse and Andrew. I'll be there Thursday.
Okay.
Let's ask him a bunch more BFS questions, Jesse.
No, I'm not interested in that. Let's talk about musky baits.
Good call. Good call.
Okay. I got different categories here for you.
Oh, this guy's prepared.
I love
I
it.
got a whole store I can pick from, so I'm going to start with an obvious one that for me anyways, I don't know if most people will. This is a weird one. This is also going to be a weird bait. Dice style baits. So this is dice rubber. This is originally made by a brand called Fieldside, popularized by OSP. This is a bigger version. This is a 20 millimeter size. So this is volume 7. I used to have this to myself and I loved it. No one else could get them. And they were so back ordered in the domestic market that I couldn't get them, but I have friends that own tackle shops in Japan. So I would order them for myself. And then even when they came over, it was like, people were like, what is that? So I had this for a very long time by myself. Now it's very popular. So you have to get a little bit more creative. It looks like nothing. It just looks like a little cube of plastic with strands through it. But they catch them so good. And there's like a whole category to it now. Like this one came out, not that long ago. This is the Hide Up Koike. Super popular. This is like an elastomer one where all the actual strands it's like built into the plastic. Another one is the G-Crack. This is the Imo Kamushi Q-Bomb. This is probably one of the more popular ones now just because it's a little bit, happier on the wallet. And, you still get 4 to a pack. There's a couple different sizes and they make great colors. And the SAF material is honestly second to none. It's some of my favorite plastics. So
I was just going to say that first one you showed, which is like the original dice bait that we kind of got used to. I bought a pack of those. I love them. But one thing I will say, which I didn't expect when I bought it, they make me feel snacky because you crack that and it smells like Tostitos.
Yeah, man.
Or like Fritos. Like it smells just like corn chips.
Yep.
It's so good.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's in this. It's salt amino flavoring. It smells like corn chips.
That sounds
But
like an
apparently-
ingredient on a Subway sandwich. So it doesn't matter.
But apparently it's not for human consumption.
Right.
Rules are meant to be broken, Andrew.
Yeah, so I think for me that's one of my like favorite ways to do it. Another like super underrated bait, man. Nishine Lure Works Namazu catfish. Everybody just thinks you like fish this on bottom. This is a great Senko bait. That emo style baits is like a heavy salted bait. So generally you fish them weightless. I throw this a lot on a wacky rig, man. It's underrated. The head always hits the bottom first. The tail sort of stands up and then falls over. When you twitch it, it's incredible. So Namazu catfish is underrated, but probably should be looked at by a lot more guys. And he has two different sizes, and they just expanded the color lineup like 6 months ago to actually have great colors. So
do you fish it more like a Neko rig?
yeah, I throw this a lot on a Neko rig. If you don't want to tear up the thing, because you can't really get a ring around like where I Neko rig it, G-Crack has a little thing called a Neko Hacks. You push it through the bottom of the bait and then you hook into the Neko Hacks. It saves your plastic. It's worth couple bucks for, I think you get 12 in a pack or something like that. And you can literally Neko rig anything.
Anything, Andrew.
Literally anything.
Those are those things, they look like a T.
Yeah.
You push it through. Yeah. That's pretty cool. I'll link those below because that's a cool thing you could use on any bait.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's worth having.
Honestly, anything Nishini makes, that guy's a genius.
He's like a huge celebrity in Japan, man. Like I got to hang out with him at last year's Keepcast, and people literally sprinted to his booth to get his handmade baits. And then most guys were doing like 15-minute seminars. His was like 45 minutes. It was crazy. So, yeah.
Whenever he has a booth at CanCast or the spring fishing show or something, we always go up and say hi to him because all of his baits are very interesting. And a lot of the times when he comes up with an idea, I'm like, how did no one think of this before? Like, this is super cool. And then I'm like, I am dumb. I would never think of anything this cool.
A lot of people don't know he actually designed some of the most famous baits for like Shimano on the saltwater side that are like still used today. Same with Daiwa. Like a lot of the baits that a ton of companies use were actually designed by him before he ever moved and started his own thing.
Very cool. Definitely check him out. All right. What's another bait?
Simple worm style bait, but this one it's called the Limbo. This is a Zappu product made by my friend Takuma Hata. He's a very, very famous Japanese like fisherman. He does this cool thing, man, where he'll catch like a giant fish just on a stick with line. Like he caught a stingray and just literally fought the stingray like this, no reel, no nothing. So pretty famous guy. It's just a stick bait, right? But this bait is extremely versatile. Like it is like my favorite Senko. It is my favorite like wacky rig style bait. If I'm drop shotting with one, I've been using these. They're coming out with a little bit smaller size as well, but I Ned rig this 4-inch. It has that SAF material. So this is actually produced by G-Crack. So you get that SAF plus amazing colors. And I don't know exactly like why this thing works so well, but it's just, if I could only have one stick bait period, it would be this one. I'd use it for literally everything.
I just wanted to ask a question then, because I know a lot of people, again, they're wondering kind of what's the deal with this stuff? What's the deal with it? You mentioned now a couple times like G-Crack with their SAF. What does that mean? Like SAF plastics, because we have TPE, which is what people might recognize from Z-Man, right? The Elastec kind of stuff. Super stretchy, super durable plastic.
Yep.
Don't mix it with other plastics kind of thing.
Right.
So what's that other one?
SAF it's like a flavoring. It's salt amino flavoring is what the SAF stands for. They are pretty like durable. Like they do have like some bounce to them, but it's the scent. And I'm not really a scent guy other than with the G-Crack stuff for whatever reason. Like if something doesn't have a scent, I don't put scent on it. So this is kind of where my scent journey is starting. Like I'm kind of starting to believe that it's not just like placebo effect and that like it actually does something, but it's only because of this. Like I don't pick a certain brand because I like their scent other than G-Crack and now this, but yeah.
You have to think though, how a lot of these Japanese companies design their baits. It's so meticulous that they would also be extremely meticulous in the scents and stuff that they put on their baits. There's probably a lot of science behind that stuff. Meanwhile, in America, we're just like, let's put some garlic on it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, let's try coffee.
The G-Crack is actually interesting. He actually owns one of the like coolest stores in Japan. Like it's called Backlash. He also runs one of the biggest, like that Keepcast that I was talking about. That's his show. And he does a lot for like, he does a bunch of other shows throughout the year, but he also owns like a boat brand called Souther. It's like a miniature bass boat. You should look it up. They're sick, man. But this guy definitely knows his stuff when it comes to fishing.
That's cool. Who would have thought a guy named Hukura Matata would know that?
Yeah.
That's what I thought he said.
All right. The second AOA disclaimer. We apologize for any mispronunciation.
So the guy, the Zappu guy he's not the owner. The owner of it, his name is anyway, the Zappu guy's name is Hata Takuma.
See? Hakuna Matata?
Yeah. And the G-Crack guy's name is Aoki-san. It's just Aoki, but you call him Aoki-san. So
I'll practice if I ever go to Japan.
Yeah.
All right, why don't we cut down one combo for fishing those catfish baits? Because those are pretty cool. I know me and Andrew have looked at those a few times. If you were going to fish those baits, say Nico style, what is a combo that you would recommend for that?
7.3 medium spinning with 3,000 size. That's just kind of my go-to for most of the stuff. Sometimes I'll go to like a 7.6 medium, but if I could only have one rod to fish most of that stuff, maybe other than the dice, I would just go with like a medium size 7, medium action, fast tip. It'll do most things spinning.
You don't have to get complicated for sure.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go on to the bonus question for this. Now, what would you say is the most underappreciated soft plastic that you sell in the shop?
It's changed. So before, this was one of the most popular baits, and I think that people didn't understand it. And we've already talked about it, but probably the cover scat, man.
Poop.
It used to literally be my most popular selling bait. And maybe in the past year or so, the only thing people want from depths is Sakamata shads. This bait, like for me flipping, this is my bait. Like I love it. It does everything that I need it to do, and it does nothing. So
Yeah.
it's not complicated. It's easy to rig. You can throw it literally anywhere. You don't need to weight it, but you can if you really want to.
They pitch so nice, weightless. Like the first time
Yeah.
I hooked one, I Texas rigged it and I pitched it out. I'm like, it's like half ounce.
Yeah.
Like they're heavy.
It's an incredible fish catching bait, fairly durable, but you also appreciate the softness when you hook up to every single fish.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Absolutely. I always say this to Andrew, like we're talking about like Z-Man style baits that are really stretchy. Yes, they last, but sometimes the hookup percentage is absolutely trash because the hook can't penetrate through the plastic and it bungles up on the hook, and then the fish doesn't get hooked very deep, and then it gets off when it jumps. And you're like, oh man. So sometimes it's worth blowing through a bag of plastics when you hook every single fish that grabs your bait.
I have a bonus one, and this one shouldn't be, but this is the Great Lakes Finesse snack craw. If you throw any type of micro jig, this is the trailer. Like this is a phenomenal trailer for it. It's also just great on like a Ned rig head or like a little football head. I think everybody focuses on the juvie craw and everybody focuses on like the drop minnow and stuff like that, and even the hellgrammite now or the bug. This guy's legit. This was the bait that really made me, other than the tube hook, because the tube hook is the best one, this bait is what kind of turned me on to Great Lakes Finesse.
I think that's the first bait I bought from Great Lakes Finesse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, it was one of the first baits that came out. Maybe that's the reason. But
I've watched Ashton catch like 6-pounders on drop shot on this thing, and I would never drop shot it. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I should drop shot that thing. So yeah.
Like we always say, we can learn from everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Even crazy people.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm afraid of him. He's ripped. I saw a picture of him taking pictures.
Yeah.
His arms were like the size of my waist. I was like,
yeah, he works out a lot.
This guy must snap rods when he sets hooks.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go into our next one. Now, this is a segment of lures that is one of my favorites and one of Andrew's new favorites, but it's also one that a lot of people struggle with. We're going to talk about jigs.
Okay.
We know jigs catch giant fish. They're usually one of those big fish bite getters, but they're also one of the things that a lot of people don't have confidence in because they take a little bit of, confidence to get them on. So when it comes to jigs, there's all kinds of, classic American, flipping jigs and all different brands everyone loves. But when it comes to JDM style flipping jigs, there's obviously going to be some advantages, some differences, some little tweaks that make them a little bit better possibly. So why don't you give us some of your favorite jig style baits, maybe swim jigs, flipping jigs, stuff like that, and why they're so good?
So I throw a lot of jigs. I throw a lot of football jigs. That's probably my number 2 jig. And then my number 1 jig has been like recently little finesse jigs. So this is a very, very tiny jig. But I'll do the traditional stuff first because I think that's what majority of people do. So flipping jigs, don't complicate the colors. That's going to be the first thing. You need black, you need green pumpkin. You don't even need anything outside of that. If you're looking for an amazing, flipping jig that's not going to break the bank, also has an amazing hook and a hand-tied skirt. People undervalue how good a hand-tied skirt is. If you have that little collar on it, okay, one day you're going to open your box and you're going to pick up your jig and you're going to end up with the lead and the hook, and everything else is going to be sitting in the bottom. And the only thing that disintegrated was that little ring. Kitech makes this jig. I think it's like under $8. This is on a Decoy hook, which Decoy is a premium Japanese brand. We carry them in the shop. It's stamped so you know exactly the weight you're throwing, and it's also a hand-tied skirt, which usually that's a premium. So for me, most of my jig fishing, if I'm just flipping a jig, is black. I like to throw like a black jig, and then I'll just put like a chunk, like an Egu chunk or something like that onto it. They also make a really good chunk called a flex chunk. If you size-wise, probably just go with the smaller size. The big one's really, really long. You got to trim it down. But if you're getting a casting or flipping jig, definitely the Kitech one is like my go-to.
And I agree with the hand-tied skirt thing. Like I used to buy a bunch of jigs that weren't. And yeah, like again, I'm not like a bass tournament guy, so I'm not fishing for bass all the time. And then sometimes I'd open my jig box. I got one of those like Plano ones where all the jigs slot in. You'd pull the jig out and boom, all the skirts gone. And you're like, and it's hard to find skirts. And you're like, okay, that's a piece of garbage now. So now I only buy hand-tied skirts. and you don't ever have to worry about it.
Yeah, man. And mostly hand-tied skirts are like, getting up there. They're like 10, 11, $12. This one's under $8. And it's on a decoy hook. Like usually you sacrifice somewhere. I don't know how they make this for the price they make it for. So this is the jig that I use if I'm flipping, just because it's good value. And it's even the skirting is really, really nice. Like it's a lot of times guys will try to get fancy with the skirt. Like they'll do a black skirt, but there'll be a little something extra in there. Yeah, I just need black. You know what I mean? That's where I'm going to start with those jigs. Let's do swim jigs. You guys throw swim jigs?
A lot.
Okay. Evergreen grass ripper.
Yep. Got a million of them.
The benefit of this guy is, again, in the skirts. So if you throw jackhammers, which 99% of people, that's probably, if they're like tournament guys or like you're serious about fishing, you're probably throwing a jackhammer, right? You get the exact same skirt colors in these. The head comes through stuff so nicely. It's on a gammy hook. It's tough to beat.
The head's like an arrowhead.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's nice.
I like swim jigs where the tie is right on the tip.
Yep.
I notice there's some that are like on the top, and I feel like it just catches more crap when you're reeling it in.
Yeah, this thing is extremely weedless.
Yeah, even the skirt on those, I find like the skirt is more streamlined down to the body, like from behind the head, but it's still billowy. It's still there. It's not like it's, all just lying flat against the bait.
Yep.
But it is, there's not much at all for it to get hung up on. I love those.
And it's hand tied will last forever. Same thing. If I could only have one swim jig, that's kind of how I base things off of. If I can only have one of a type, which one am I going to go with? Those two are definitely that. And then football jigs. You guys throw football jigs a lot?
Not a whole lot.
You should, because football jigs, if you fish for giant smallmouth and you're not throwing football jigs, you're missing giant smallmouth. So
that explains it.
Yeah. So there's a bunch. There's a million football jigs, but there's two really good ones. One is by K-Tech, which I don't have any. Also, I'll clarify that K-Tech is how you actually pronounce K-Tech. I learned that on my last trip. I got 14 times. They're like, what are you talking about? What is that? I'm like, it's K-Tech, man. So K-Tech makes an amazing one if you like tungsten. Sometimes tungsten, I feel like, does make a difference. The other one is the Nishine. So that Nishine finesse football jig is incredible. Same thing, hand-tied skirt. Has a really unique keeper on there. It's like a wire-tied keeper, which is pretty cool. These things for smallmouth are drugs. That's all I'm going to say. I never go fishing without one. I actually have some trailers here too that you should probably use. So this is a Doe Life Crawl. This is one of my favorite jig trailers, period. This thing on the back of one of those two jigs is absolutely deadly. Another good one, which is one we just recently got in, it's a donkey boo. So it's more of that like dolphin style paddles, but it's nice and compact, so you get those thicker paddles. The thing with a football jig is generally you're coming up over cover on the bottom, right? Well, these legs will boot up and kind of have that dolphin kick effect as it comes over stuff. So this is a really, really good option as well.
I was actually going to use that on the JDM name game one, the Donkey Boo, but
yeah, the Donkey Boo would have been a good one.
I should have, dang it.
Yeah, so those two trailers on those are the two that I'm going to use 100 out of 100 times. And then one that I've been doing for a long time, it never took off here until probably like mid last year, is throwing the micro jigs. So this one specifically, so this is the Igudama type cover. The type level is a really, really special one. If you can sight fish bass at all, in any way, if you're sight fishing from shore, you're sight fishing from a boat, yeah. Like if you're in clear enough water that you can see them and you can get this type level in front of them, it falls perfectly flat. That's kind of the deal with this. The hookup ratio is amazing. I don't really know what hook they use, but I'm assuming it's a pretty good one because I don't ever have problems. The skirting material is a mixture. I'm going to take one out. It's a mixture of silicone skirting and then rubber skirting. So you get like two different types of skirt. You'll see like these ones up top are all rubber. The bottom ones are kind of like a longer silicone. In the water, this thing looks incredible. I've caught more fish in the past probably 2 years on this than anything else, including drop shots. So trailers, if you use that Great Lakes Finesse, snack craw, that's a great trailer for this. Another one that we recently got in, this was kind of like a sneaky deal for me that I almost drug out bringing the brand on because I was catching them so good on this little yabby. It fits this thing literally perfectly. And then Igu bugs are also really good on this guy. So I feel like these are slept on. You just need like a long spinning rod in like a medium light and they're lights out. You'll hook up every fish.
You just need to buy one of those new Great Lake Finesse, super awesome spinning rods that look awesome. I picked one of those up the other day. Like I didn't buy it. I just picked it up and I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're sweet.
And I slowly put it down and walked away backwards. Just kept looking at it. That's cool.
They're sweet, man. He did a good job on those rods.
We're going to have to pick it up a bit. Who would have thought that talking about tackle that we'd ramble on? But
Sure.
that's okay.
It's only our favorite subject.
I know.
Of all fishing things, like we always go overtime on tackle discussions.
All right, so you kind of talked about finesse, fishing in clear water, sight fishing. So the lightning question for the end of this, I'm going to kind of change it. So you already talked about your favorite clear water bait. What about your favorite bait, your plastic bait for fishing in off-colored or stained water?
I like white minnow style baits. I throw those a lot on like a drop shot. If you guys, that new drop minnow from Great Lakes Finesse, that profile with realistic eyes, that one, the Has Dong, there's a couple other brands that make like very similar stuff. Something about it having realistic eyes and throwing a white color in stained water, it seems obvious, but either white or literally black are the two that I'll throw in stained water, just depending on what starts getting hit first. But like minnow style baits on a drop shot specifically, drop swimming them. That way I have a little bit more control because you can't see what you're doing. I need that bottom contact from the weight, and then I can kind of figure out what I'm doing as I go. So you only need 3 colors: black, green, pumpkin, and white. That's it. Minnows get a little complicated, but outside of that, black, green, pumpkin, and white, everything, man, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, like when it comes to like me personally and me and Andrew, when we're fishing, like flipping for bass, it's pretty much like black and blue or black and green pumpkin. Yep. It's like, what else do you need?
Yep.
Denny Brower taught that to me like 20 years ago, people. I was like 14. Hey, man, I'm getting old. Anyway, so we're going to go into our next segment here. We're going to kind of go through this one a little faster. I know this is something me and Andrew have done full episodes on. Okay. What is that, Andrew? Take a guess.
Chatterbaits.
Yeah, chatterbaits and spinnerbaits. So why don't we just talk about maybe one of each?
Okay. This chatterbait has changed my fishing. So, and it's a completely new blade design. I'm lucky to know some of these guys. So I've had these pretty early on. So this is Bumblebee Custom Lures. This is the B blade. This is version 2. So the original version had that coffin style blade that you're used to seeing. This one has a unique blade. Now this one's special for a couple of reasons. So there's the blade shape right there. It's unique. This one in particular, I love the head shape. I love the skirting, but the blade, everybody talks about startup inertia. This starts up as good, if not better, than all of my chatterbaits. I have boxes back there of chatterbaits I'll probably never throw again, just because this thing is that good. It also has a great hook, Ryugi, which is one of the best hook brands. And then the key to this one is the blade size. So depending on what you're doing, a lot of times when I'm fishing smallmouth, I'll go down in a blade size. And until this year, like in North America, you could only get really one blade size or a bigger blade size, I think, right? Just with that big blade. And then now they came out with the mini jack, but this one has always had 2 different blade sizes. So the narrow in particular is very good when everybody's on a chatterbait blight and you can do something slightly different, but not lose the effect of a bladed jig. The head shape is also amazing. This thing comes through cover like crazy. Like the thing with chatterbaits, man, is if you're around grass, if you're not around grass, you're probably throwing it in the wrong spot. The thicker the stuff, like I throw this into the back of like pencils and toolies and as far back as I can get it, and it will come through every time. And usually you catch them in it. So if you get one that's not so weedless, it's not so great. This one's an amazing one.
Sounds like you have to start a whole new bladed jig box, and it's going to be, JDM bladed jigs.
Also, another really good one if you're fishing around grass is the Max Blade, because it's got the weed guard. And then an underrated trailer is the Death Hatter, 5-inch Death Hatter, man. And it's called a Katakuchi worm from Issei. They're sold out right now. I'm very sad about it because I went through all mine like a couple weeks ago. But those are the 2 trailers that you need to try.
I didn't think anyone would say Katakuchi at me today, but
yeah,
they did.
Also, this is just an underrated kind of bladed jig hybrid. This is a waking bladed jig from Teckle. Really awesome bait if you love throwing bladed jigs, but you also like topwater. This thing's incredible.
Man, this shopping list is getting pretty big.
Yeah,
Andrew.
I was gonna say I hope you can fit a lot of links in your description because I got a lot of stuff. Spinner baits, not something that I do a whole lot these days, but when I do, I always throw SV3s. There's 2 different versions. There's a JDM version, which is a slow roll version, and then the regular version, which is just a double willow. I throw the slow roll version a lot. It stays down very nice. It has obviously like a nice rolling action, and you can slow down while you still get those blades to go. It has these really long silicon strands at the back, so a lot of guys don't like to throw trailers on their spinner baits. I'm one of those guys. So this one kind of fills that void for me.
Usually whenever I buy a nice spinnerbait and then I go bass fishing, then a pike just comes up.
Yeah.
See ya, boys.
That's the problem with the pike, man.
Dang it.
Just the pike keep me in business, man.
Oh, yeah. It's a conspiracy. Travis is stalking pike into the
I'm training
Lakes.
them.
We thought they were coming up through the Trent, but Travis has a huge pond in the back of Taco Bros. Okay, we're going to have to investigate. All right, here's the bonus question for that. Actually, let's talk quick about gear for chatterbaits, if you don't mind.
Yeah, simple, man. I throw 7-to-1 gear ratio. Sometimes I'll throw, like if I'm throwing fluorocarbon, 14 pound. If I'm throwing braid, almost everything but jigs I throw 30 pound on. And then, you know, a 7.2 medium heavy rod, not complicated. I have rods that are $300 that I throw bladed jigs on, and I have rods that are $1,000 that I throw bladed jigs on. And I honestly, it's not one of the ones where you probably need to spend $1,000. If you spend $1,000, spend it on the spinning stuff. But it's fun, you know.
It's like a frog rod, right? It's like you don't need to spend big money on a frog rod because it's all pretty much visual.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. All right, here's the bonus question for spinnerbaits and chatterbaits. What's a chatterbait mistake that most people make?
Only straight retrieving. If you can pop it and work it a little bit and get that thing hunting a little bit better, you will double your bites. Most people just think chuck and wind. If you start to get, you see some cover and you let it drop into the cover and then you kind of work it back over the cover, that's almost always where you get bit, man, is they're sitting behind or in front of the cover, right? So if something erratic comes out, it's going to think it's frightened. Don't just cast and wind it. Definitely use your rod to put some action into it.
That's awesome. We actually did a whole episode last year. Remember that one, Andrew, called the reaction attraction? So it was all about causing reaction bites.
Yep.
I'll link that one down below because that's actually one of my favorite episodes, except for this one. This one's pretty awesome. All right. I thought we could have a quick break in the segments. We have one left and it's Andrew's favorite, but we're going to have a quick story time because this is the first time we've recorded since the pike tournament that was in, when was that? That was in the end of May. Because we pre-recorded a bunch of the episodes, so this is the first time. So anyway, we had the Chandos Lake Pike Tournament, which Mike and Mary from Waterwolf Lures and me and Andrew hosted. It was pretty fun. We had 25 boats.
Yeah, I think
something like that.
I think there were 24 on the day.
Yeah,
24.
That's good for that lake.
One guy had legit boat problems.
He rebuilt the bottom end of his motor the night before.
Oh, yeah, and then it didn't work. Who would have thought?
And then it didn't work.
So we slept over at a provincial park nearby, and it was freezing, and it was like almost June, right? It was like the day before June, but it was like 1 degree at night. And then the day of the tournament, it was 7 degrees. We were wearing legit mittens, and it was 50K winds. So we were out there rocking around in this big lake in boats and just like almost like capsizing. Like me and Mike fished a few spots that he wanted to fish, and it was like insanity. Like the spot lock was like, like I was like, give me an anchor. Like I'll throw an anchor. Like it was insane.
We ran our batteries down that day on the boat. I was me and Andy. The battery ran out on the trolling motor. Like it was just on full tilt pretty much.
I felt bad for a bunch of the guys that came in slightly smaller boats because it was like the angry sea that day. It was insane. And it was a tough bite. Like even the days before, it was tough fishing. So we didn't really know what was going to go on. Turns out a lot of guys did really good. No, like I know we had a bunch of guys like Brian, Halliburton Fishing Guide. He came out. Yeah. He actually placed second, which I'm not surprised, but I was surprised because he'd never fished the lake before. So that was good. Met a whole bunch of guys and girls that were absolute hammers. Like I was actually frightened in the morning. I was like, I'm going to come in last. Not that was a bad thing, whoever came in last. Thanks for coming. But turns out that, actually Mike slammed a giant 40-inch Northern, which actually put us in the winning spot. It's kind of, winning our own tournament. Kind of weird, but hey, it's all about numbers, people. There's no way we could have faked that. But anyway, it was a fun time. Even if we didn't win, I mean, Andrew didn't win and he had a fun time. So we're actually going to do it again next year.
Very frustrating.
Next year, the weather will be better. I promise. I can't promise that, but we're going to do it again next year. Absolutely. So we'll talk about that.
Next year, my lures won't break in half on my PB pike. That's another story for another time.
That's another story. But next year, before the event, a few months before, we'll talk about it on the podcast. And if you're interested in joining that tournament, you'll be able to let us know because it's going to fill up quick this year. So anyway, that was kind of story time.
Are you going to do it on Chandos again?
Not sure.
Okay.
It could be a different lake this year. We might kind of rotate through lakes, which would make it even more exciting. And maybe Travis will come and spank us with some JDM baits. Just use a wire leader.
Yeah,
Husky
literally.
musky, of course.
The wire ones are coming.
So anyway, story time is over. If you have any questions about story time, you can ask Andrew. Anyway, we have one more segment left, and we're going to let Andrew
burned into
handle
my
this.
memory, unfortunately.
What are the last style of baits, Andrew, that we are going to talk about that you love so much?
I love it a lot. BFS, bait finesse,
Okay.
and some micro tackle. First of all, if you could explain what you define BFS as.
Yeah, basically bait finesse is guys who hate spinning. If you like throwing spinning baits on casting, that is bait finesse.
If you like spinning fishing on hard mode, it's
yeah,
bait finesse.
exactly. Listen, bait finesse, there's a lot of baits that actually like really benefit from it. So it is really cool. And the reel technology has gotten really good over the last couple of years. There was not a lot of options until maybe last year, the year before. It's a different, honestly, it's like almost like musky guys. Like BFS guys are kind of like their own little group of guys. Like
they're like, what? You want to do something that's more difficult? It's like you could go fishing and catch bass, or you could legit fish and catch nothing. That's musky fishing. Or
bait finesse system is awesome, man. It's fun. That's what it is. I think it's like one of the funnest ways to catch them, because instead of fighting it with like a really, really, spinning reel drag that's designed for doing that, you're fighting it literally on a casting rod. And, some of them have clicker drags now, but for the most part, that style of fishing is designed to get the fish in, but now you're having the fun of really battling with them on a casting rod. So I think it's more...
I've actually caught my PB smallmouth, PB in-season smallmouth on BFS, and I've matched my PB largemouth on using BFS.
What are your PBs?
So the smallmouth was 5 pounds.
Okay.
And the largemouth is 3.4.
Okay. Those are giants on BFS.
Yeah. I mean, that smallmouth, that 5-pounder, blew my mind.
Yeah, man.
We'll be fishing like legit around docks and stuff, and I'll be using a flipping stick, and Andrew's just like, here, let me pull this out. Pulls out this little fairy wand, checks out this little tiny like jackal frog, and he's like, here we go. And he's fearless. He'll cast anywhere. Like, you're dumb.
Yeah, man. It's a stressful, fun way to fish. So for BFS, I like to throw the 70 size spy bait specifically. It's lighter than the other size spy baits. It's really designed to be fish shallow, and it does lean to benefit from like a bait caster. Because, if you ever have to, when you're throwing something on spinning and you're constantly reeling, it's not comfortable. But a bait caster is very comfortable. So for me, 70 size spy bait is probably my go-to bait. Another one that we actually already talked about is that new Heartbeat. So this is another style of, spy baiting, but not, it's a little different. The prop's actually in the chin. Water goes in through the gills, spins the prop. This one has a tinsel tail, and I think tinsel is a really important part of fishing that like a lot of people don't understand. The previous version, which they still make, has like a rubber tail. The tinsel on this is incredible. So those are probably like my two favorite. And then Megabass has a whole BFS line. So if you're like really into BFS, like you can get into the baby pop X's, the X70 juniors, the X80 juniors, like there's pretty much everything. But for me, when I throw BFS, if it's not, Karashi's the obvious answer, I think, but you can't ever get them. So Spinbait 70 is probably my go-to if I was to only have one.
I love all BFS stuff. I really like the Pico Pico. I've mentioned it a few times before. Yep. That I love tossing the BFS. It's just, I like finding those baits that are heavy enough where you don't run into issues casting them, but they're still like way too light of a bait that you'd feel comfortable casting on your regular 150,
Yep.
And that's perfect for me. I absolutely love that kind of stuff.
Do you throw plastics on it?
I do throw some small, kind of do some small paddle tails and stuff like that on it, but I don't do too much kind of like slope, like flipping or anything like that with it, though.
I think this year at iCast, you guys are going to be excited for some stuff that's coming out that'll lean really heavily towards BFS from a brand you guys like.
Well, Jesse won't be
excited,
Andrew, but I will be.
I don't waste my time with that stuff. But if you do, that's
would
fine.
You say there's what's a recommendation that you would say would be, let's do 2 spectrums if we have the time for it, but kind of an entry level, but still, like we said, it's bait casting. What's something that you would recommend to kind of start with if it fits in your budget? And then what's something that if you really want to go all out, what would you recommend?
I think I have my all out here, so I'll show you it.
Ooh. He's showing us something. Is this another donation?
This is probably my favorite BFS combo. This is a Daiwa PX. It's actually called a Pixie, is the actual baitcaster. And then this is on a Pop X stick. So it's a Megabass P5 rod. This is one of the most bougie ones you can get without going to like an Aldebaran. But actually, this one has, I don't know, there's something special about this reel. I have a lot more control with the line. Again, you get the T-Wing system. So this is a dope combo. If you can go all out, go with something like this. The PX is a really, really good one.
The nicest one that I have is I have a Daiwa Alphas.
Okay.
And then I have that paired on a Daiwa Rebellion, kind of like light action spinning rod.
Yep.
Or light action bait casting rod, sorry. And that's kind of like my bougier setup that I have. But I've used the Cast King Zephyr.
Yeah.
Like that was my first one. It cost like $60
Yep.
for the reel. And then I put that on a Sensolite, which I got on sale for like $40, like $100 I'm out the door with a BFS combo.
Yeah, man.
That I could actually cast most BFS stuff on. Like it's not terrible.
No, absolutely. It's nice that there's options like that because it is such like a niche market. And like when you don't know if you like it, before you couldn't really spend less than maybe like $800 to get into it. That's a little scary, especially even if you have the money. Without trying the technique, it's hard to justify that kind of money. You know what I mean? So things have come down a little bit.
Like when Andrew hands me his BFS, I'm like, oh, that's cute. And I hand it back to him.
Yeah.
I bought that first. And I tell you, in 6 months, I upgraded. Like,
yeah. But
it got me into like, I want more of
But
this.
It got you into it to the point where you felt
Yeah.
comfortable with like buying that next level, right? Yeah. So then for more budget, again, it's still not budget, but it's more easy to get into. Probably the Tatula BFS, I think, is probably the best entry point, in my opinion, as far as reels go. And then rods, if you want to stay like true BFS, Levante Japan comes out with some periodically, and they're phenomenal rods for the money. Like they're sub $300, and they probably could bat in that $400 or $500 range. And then what you said, if you want to just get into it, the Sensolite makes great ones. There's some BFS models in the XT now, which are phenomenal. But for me, I love the Levante, man. I have one for personal, and I mean, I can buy any rod that I want, but the Levantes are really special.
Those are great rods.
Yeah.
The Levante that I just used on the pike tournament was the 710 extra heavy, Andrew. That's a nice rod.
Is it the Leviathan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the big swim bait rod.
Yeah, it's a sweet
I'll take
rod.
that any day. But anyway,
Yeah.
we got to wrap this one up. So what is the nerd out question, Andrew?
So what is the most over-engineered micro bait you carry?
I have it. I don't know when this is going out, but it's going to release.
I may buy it.
He's like, I have it. It's flying around the shop as we speak. It's a little drone.
Oh, I got it. Ashton said that.
We're making Travis walk. Like every time he sits down, we're like, hey, you got a bait? And he's like, oh, it's on the other side of the tackle room. Oh my goodness, people.
These are on the drop this week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, this podcast is coming out.
Yeah, it'll be
in a
before,
week and a
it'll be
half.
after, but this is a cool bait, man. And this is actually I think is going to break the internet a little bit. So this is the Dual Realis Mito Pico. I've done a video on this before.
Oh, yes, I want it.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with Dual on this bait. I've been to the factory, I don't even know how many times, just, testing, giving feedback. They've obviously got a lot of feedback from everybody else, but, making minor changes.
I've seen the footage of this on that they've put online.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been sending it to Jesse. I'm like,
Is this the hard hover strolling bait?
Yeah. The
Yeah.
Mito Pico. So it's officially going to release this, not the week that this is coming out, but the week that we're recording this. This is over-engineered like crazy, man. So it is a multi-segmented bait, has a treble, but also has this amazing single hook breakaway. So if you've ever thrown spy baits or anything with a small treble, the number one problem is always hookup ratio. You hook them, you get them about 3/4 of the way back to the boat, and you start to lose that leverage a little bit, and they pop off. If they get this hook, I don't think they're ever going to be able to come off. There's so much little intricate details that went into this thing. Again, I've been with this since the start, since the very first model. Like even this little chin ball is a huge difference to what it originally was. This thing is going to change fishing, I think, for for at least a period of time before the fish get sort of acclimated to it. I've been super lucky to be able to fish this for like the past like year and a half now, secretly, and not been able to tell anybody about anything going on. But this is probably the most over-engineered bait I've ever been like a part of, like working with anyways.
That's awesome.
Set one aside
Yeah.
for me. Don't sell out of them before I get there, because I want one.
You know, I started dieting a few years ago and I lost my chin ball. Just kidding.
See, I just
it's
grew
still
a
there.
beard
I just
to
grew a
cover
beard to
mine.
cover it up. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still trying to grow mine. This is like year 10. I can't grow any facial hair.
You know, if Andrew can donate a graph of his,
Yeah.
like weird, it'll just spread over your whole face.
I've been trying to get one from Ashton for a while. He just won't give it up. He
Andrew
needs it for the
just
top of
sneezes
his
on
head.
you and it.
Yeah.
Me too.
You know what? I'll take the strong hair and less beard, because both you guys have strong beards and less hair. So
No, Jesse's good.
Jesse's
Yeah,
nice, yeah.
Mine's okay.
Yeah,
Andrew's
mine's
though, he's a
definitely
grizzled freak. We split. I have better hair. He's a better beard.
Yeah.
It all works out.
You take
All
the
right.
hair every time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to wrap this episode up. First of all, we'd like to thank everyone for all the reviews that we've gotten. We actually have over 550 5-star reviews, which is absolutely insane. And we would like to thank everyone for doing that. Yeah. And it's not just because we tell you guys to do it, but you guys actually do it, which is fantastic, which actually puts us into one of Canada's highest rated fishing shows, which is absolutely insane because we're just a bunch of goofs who like fishing. Andrew, why don't you do a quick blurb about our Patreon?
First of all, thank you to everyone who is on it, who contributes. We really appreciate that. Helps us continue to get awesome guests. Helps me and Jesse be able to afford our JDM tackle. And just kidding, it goes into the podcast. But if you have the opportunity, you want to help out at Patreon for just a couple bucks a month, you can help out. And we also, all our giveaways are done on Patreon. So if you are a Patreon member, it's super easy. Just let us know you want to win the giveaway when we have them going. And you automatically get entered at that point. Just let us know. There's no extra steps. If you aren't a paid Patreon member, you got to do some annoying things like fill out paperwork and all that stuff to do it. But by all means, you're more than welcome to do so and be entered into those giveaways when you have them going on. But yeah, mainly the biggest thing is thank you to everyone who's on there.
I'll do a giveaway for you guys.
So generous.
Let's do it. We made Travis get up again. This is like the 8th time. Your chin ball is going to disappear soon, man.
Soon, man. So when you guys come in, I'll give you this. This is our store custom exclusive color with Megabass. This is SB Perch. So this is a color that I worked with Megabass for about 2 years to create. I'll give you one to give away. At one point, we're reselling for like 150 USD.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Ironically, I'm actually going in like in 2 days to pick up a
There you
musky
go.
rod. So
I'll have the tier for you, man.
that is awesome. So one lucky person is going to win a super awesome bait that you might not want to use, but if you do, that's totally fine.
Just use it. Just the bait, man.
You know what? I go through that. I buy nice baits, and when I'm fishing, I'm like, I'm like, why did I buy this? To use it, you fool. Then I use it and snag a rock. But I thought I'd read one review
Classic.
before we're done, because I was talking about all the reviews that we get, which is fantastic. We appreciate that. I did get a review from someone named Generic Gene. Well, his name is actually Generic Waterborne Gene. Now, this guy, he follows us on Instagram.
Perfect for the average angler.
Exactly. And
Generic G.
I asked this guy if I could read this message because he sent me this. He's actually an American. So I'll read what he said. And I thought it was pretty funny. So he's like, "Good evening, gents." He says, "I'm in Toronto on business for a day, and I was downtown, down by Amsterdam Brewhouse restaurant. Anyway, there were some guys fishing in the harbor, and I mentioned I was from the States and didn't know anything about fishing in Canada other than what I hear on the Average Ontario Anglers podcast. And the fisherman said, AOA, that's a great podcast. Then he said, here's my point. I talked to and interacted with fewer than 20 Canadians today, and 3 of them knew who you were. You two are way more famous than you realize. Keep it up." Thanks, Gene. We're not famous at all, actually. Usually when people see us, they run in the opposite direction. But it's funny to get recognized like that. Because again, me and Andrew, we just love fishing, man. And it's cool to have followers from all over Canada and the United States as well. And a lot of other random places in the world. So we appreciate that. So as we wrap this up, Travis, where can people find Tackle Bros? And the obvious answer is the internet, but yeah.
Yeah. Website, if you're in Canada, it's just tacklebros.ca. If you're in the US, it's tacklebrosUS.com. And then if you want more of like our social media stuff, our YouTube is at Tackle Bros Fishing. Same with our Instagram and everything like that. And then if you want to follow me, mine's at Tackle Prez on Instagram. Probably the coolest name of all time.
It's true. I'm like the tackle jester. So anyway, I'm going to link all that down below. And we can't link every bait probably. I've tried to do that before and it only allows me to do so many links. But I'm going to link as many things possible so you can go down and you can legit look at all the weird stuff that we talked about today. And I guarantee if you do any favor to yourself, buy at least one of the baits that we talked about today. You don't have to spend, like Andrew said, all your grocery money, but treat yourself to one nice bait. Like, Parks and Rec, treat yourself.
Buy a tackle lure. That's what buy tackle.
They're so good.
But don't buy the tackles until me and Andrew go there first because we don't want to buy any weird colors, It's the lure you want, but it's like brown. You're like, that's gross.
In fact, why don't we just not release this thing until after you and I have shopped Tackle Bros next?
All right. Let's go up on Thursday.
Fair play.
So anyway, we'd like to thank Travis again and Tackle Bros. Definitely check him out. And like we always mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, like every time we're in Peterborough, we have to stop in Tackle Bros. Make sure you check out the store. It's super cool. Even if you're just window shopping, go in there. I guarantee you will find some weird and very cool stuff. So we have now something that Travis has been dreading the whole episode because I didn't remind him about it because we don't do that because we're mean. We have the quote of the week. And to handle that, we have Travis from Tackle Bros.
Oh boy. Try something new, man. Just try something new. That's kind of what we're here for, is to like put you into a new style of fishing, a new bait, or just go somewhere new fishing. It's fishing, man. There's really no wrong answers to what you're doing, and just enjoy it.
That's right. We tried podcasting. Look where we are.